Howdy folks, this is BelGeode. We are in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this is a test. Oh boy, do I have a lot of disclaimers that I need to get out of the way. But, you know what? We're going to have the little pop-up thing pop up at the bottom that you're used to seeing by now if you've been watching these chill videos often. Of course, being a chill video, very minimal editing. I may need to change that because things are not perfect. They will do for the recording purposes, I hope. I really can't tell because I'm in VR, of course, so I can't tell what it looks like on the monitor that's being recorded right now. But hopefully everything will come out okay. So I'm going to quickly explain what my process is, and then we'll get to this beautiful aircraft and, of course, the continuation of our story here in Alaska. We are, by the way, at False Pass, which, if you recall, a couple of videos back, or maybe 2 or 3 videos back, we came in here with the PAC 750 because it just could not hack the flight. So we called in a couple of favors, and the Navy came through for us. So we're riding in Navy 70, which is the Miltech, designed by Maryadi, MV-22B Osprey. I love this bird. This bird has been featured on this channel so many times. Not this one in particular, but just the MV-22B. I've shown it in FSX when Maryadi first created this model, and I thought it was really good in FSX. He then updated it for P3D, and I showed it off on the channel in P3D V4. I don't remember if I did in V5. No, I don't think I did. I think it was only V4. And now Maryadi's back for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and all the coding he did himself, the modeling, everything. He did a stunning job. That said, is it perfect? No. Not by a long shot, but then nothing in Microsoft Flight Simulator is perfect. Does it work? Yes, most definitely it does work. And we are going to be flying the remainder of my original voyage that I intended from False Pass to Unalaska, otherwise known as Dutch Harbor. Let's take a quick look at the scenery here. Hopefully you're not seeing too many jitters. The motion should be a little smoother. The way I'm recording this, I am not using the OpenXR Windows Mixed Reality portal. I'm actually using SteamVR, and my SteamVR OpenVR plugin is being pumped into OBS. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. I'm not actually recording with OBS. I'm actually recording with AMD Relive. I know, it seems confusing, but hopefully the pictures are worth 1,000 words. Hopefully you can see. Of course, I have no guarantee that my head is actually being completely steady, but I've tried to add just enough motion smoothing through a filter that I have in OBS called LVK, or Live Video Kit, that hopefully it should be mitigating a lot of the issues that we've been having with image stabilization whenever I record these kinds of videos. In other words, I don't want you all to get motion sickness when you're watching a video. That's why I'm going to these great lenses to try and see if we can get it sorted. All right, real quick, we'll go through the various camera views. There's not much to show. There's really only 3 camera views. So we're in a drone cam right now. Now we're in the static cam, and as you can see, this is the standard behind the aircraft view. The only other 2 views are either side. So this and this. That's it. We're going to put it back to this, and we're going to leave it here. We're going to not mess with it. All right, let's get into the cockpit. Okay, so here we are in the cockpit, and the first thing you're going to notice, it's pretty dark. Second thing you might notice, it's also pretty roomy, and I love the windows. I call them the bay windows because they're just so massive. It's really cool. I love it. All right, but yeah, everything is dark. We don't have our APU on or anything, so let's go ahead and get some battery action going here. Battery, by the way, is on the far side over there. Okay, before we can get any lights or anything on, we're going to need to turn on all of our PFD, MFD. So we're basically just turning the knob to the right, set it to day. We can do that for both the pilot and the co-pilot. Now bear in mind that the co-pilot's instruments will not come on until we actually have the APU up and running. And then we want to get our main display down here up and running. Okay, now you may have noticed that this bird currently has its blades pointing forward, which is not correct for an engine start. And especially on the ground, those blades are going to cut into the ground. We don't want that. So first thing that we've got to do, we've got to set this thing up vertically. And how we do that is we go Systems, and you'll see it says BFWS. That's for the wing fold. We're going to want it flight ready, and there's going to be a little pop-up in the center. You'll notice it's pointing at the rotor lock. That is because the rotor lock is engaged. So we want to click that, and that'll remove the rotor lock. Incidentally, your rotor brake is right here. You could do it that way as well. So now it's changing the flap position, and then it's going to keep cycling down the list. So it's now raising the nacelles, which if we take a look, you can see. Look at those monster props. Yeah, that's what I like. That is what I like. So as soon as everything is officially flight ready, we're going to start the APU, and then we'll get this thing started. It is relatively easy to get started, but we'll go through all of that in a moment here. I just love the visibility. Visibility is amazing. I'm deliberately trying to move my head slower because I have no idea what the motion smoothing is doing. So I may have to pop a disclaimer up if the motion smoothing starts doing some weird warping looking stuff. I'm sorry. That's about as good as I can get here. All right. We do need our APU on. But first, let me get some lights on here. I don't want the cabin lights on, but I do want the pilot light on and the co-pilot light on, as well as the overhead light. Remember, all of that will come on once we actually have the APU running. So APU to the right, 1, 2. So that should power the APU on. It is engaged. You can see it says run right up there. So we're good to go, and you'll notice all the lights came on. I don't know why there isn't a secondary battery just for all of that stuff, but you know what? I'm not going to worry too much about it. We are buttoned up. All of our doors are closed. The doors are over here. So for the ramp and for the side doors, we're good to go. All right, before we go ahead and get started, let me switch it to lights. Now, if you look at the little CDU here, you'll see there's a LTS switch, which changes what's going on here. So we've got master lights on. I'm going to put the tail strobe to norm, bottom strobe to strobe, position lights both, and looks like we finally got hydraulics. So there we go there. Position light set to bright, position light set to steady. We're going to go to menu 2. And this is where all the cool stuff is. So we've got our landing gear lights, which you can set to auto, which basically means the landing lights will come on when you've got your gear out. When your gear is in, of course, they'll turn off. And then the tip lights, which I'll show you that in a moment once we actually get the engine started. Okay, APU's on and running. I typically like to set this thing up with various screens going. So I want my, let's see, that's engine, ice, electric. Yeah, so that tells me we're running on battery and APU right now. We do have Gen 1 on. There's 4 generators for this thing. 4. Wow, it's crazy. And we're going to set this stat to, you know what, we'll duplicate the engine. Let me just check my fuel again, though. All right, we have 5,865 pounds on board. Plenty to make it to Dutch Harbor, provided, of course, we don't get, like, driven off course or anything. All right, so we're going to set this to Eng. And it's time to get an engine start. So, first things first. Make sure my throttle is idled. My parking brakes should be on. These are your engine controls, so we're going to bump it forward 2 notches. So this is crank for the left engine, and then start for the left engine. And if we look at our engine gauges, we'll see everything starts to come up. You hear the little whine as the igniters kick in and all of that good jazz. It's just going to go through the motions here. Give it a second. There we go. We're powering up. I'm waiting for all of the red on the left side to go green. We're at yellow. PSI is coming up. Temperature is coming up. All right. Things are looking good. Things are looking good. Okay, so left engine is on. Let's go for the right engine. Crank. Start. And we'll see the right engine pop up. You can watch it here too. This will give you all your caution and warning lights. Notice it says keybind call flap 4 to operate nacelles. That's important. That's probably the single most important thing on this bird. In order to make your nacelles able to be rotated manually, you have to use call flap 4 increase and call flap 4 decrease. You can set it to whatever you want. Like I have mine on my Verpal stick. There is a little rolling knob that is centered that normally in the F-14 Tomcat you use for your DLC to change the angle of the DLC. That's what I have set to my nacelles right now. Okay, we're looking good on engines. Temperature is a little cold. It's a little cold, but it's okay. And you can see our electrics are all on, so we're good to go there. So we're going to push right engine to fly and left engine to fly. And that's going to come up. And now we can go ahead and turn off the APU. So we'll put it to run, but disengaged. And then we'll put it to off. So there we go. All right, so you may have noticed everything is obnoxiously green in here. That's the overhead light. We can turn that off momentarily. But first, let me set up my barometer. So my altimeter will actually read our current altitude or elevation above sea level. You'll also notice it says RPM low. That will go up as you increase your throttle. Obviously, since we're on the ground, we don't want to increase it too much. But you can see hydraulic pressure is going up. Pull the throttle back down. RPM's coming back down. All right, I'm going to get rid of this overhead light here. So there we go. And we have the remaining lighting on. Okay, so we're still on the lights page on the main screen here. So we're going to go bottom, and I'll show you that in a second. And we're also going to set this to auto, so that'll get our landing lights on. Yep, certainly does look like our landing lights are on. And if you look at the blade tips, look at that. That is just the coolest thing. So you can only have top or bottom. So when we're in VTOL mode, I have the bottom so I can see. And once we get the nacelles pointing forward, I will put it to top, which will give you the front of the rotor blades. All right, so we're pretty much set to go. Kara, I'm hoping you are here with me because I need to check the weather and hopefully you got the comms on.
Papa Alpha Kilo Foxtrot automated weather observation.
Oh, there is this as well. This is also radio.
Wind 160 at 14. Visibility 6 and heavy rain. Sky condition 2,100 feet. Scattered ceiling 4,900 feet broken.
I want to say that should be on.
For C, dew point 10C. Altimeter 3030.
Yeah, would have said that there.
Papa Alpha Kilo Foxtrot automated weather observation 0100 Zulu. Wind 160 at 14.
160 at 14. Wow. Wow.
Sky condition 2,100 feet. Scattered ceiling 4,900 feet broken. Temperature for C, dew point 10C. Altimeter 3030.
That's just crazy. Okay, Kara, we need to select a runway, so let's go with runway 14. And tell them we're about to taxi, please.
Papa Alpha Kilo Foxtrot, traffic Navy 70, is taxiing to runway 14.
Okay, so before we can move out, we need to make sure that everything is set the way we'd like to have it. So on this MFD, I'm going to set that to nav. But here's the other really cool thing that I can do. If I click on this button to the right, all of a sudden, I've got the moving GPS map, which is really neat. I love this. We could set the track up, we could set north up or heading up, whichever way we would like to have it. What I will do, however, is I will increase our range. We're at 15 miles. I'm going to put it out to about 50. So there we go. This is the island that we need to cross. Notice those mountains. That's pretty high. It's pretty high. We're probably going to need to go up to about 14,000 feet. And you can see the winds, 170 at 17. That's also kind of bad. Now you see why we're not using the PAC 750. It could barely get into here in the first place. Yeah, that's just going to be crazy. All right, I am going to set my course knob really quick. Let's see, course knob. Shouldn't be pointing north, I don't think. Should be at 243, I thought, which is exactly where it was in the first place. 243. And we'll set our heading knob. Not that we're going to use the heading, but we're going to set it to runway heading, so 140 right there. Now, as far as our altitude goes, I would like to cruise at about 14,000 feet. I'm not sure if this aircraft is pressurized, but I would feel a little bit more comfortable if we were over the clouds. Okay, are you ready to go, folks? Because I am ready to go, except I need to put my PFD on. And actually, I'm going to show you something really neat after we take off that you can do with the PFD. Okay, so you'll notice our nacelles indicated in the upper left corner of the PFD are at 89. This means if I start adding throttle and take the parking brake off, we're going to slightly move forward. I don't want that. I want to push back. So we're going to change our nacelles to its maximum, which is 97. We'll get the parking brakes off and give it just a little bit of throttle till I can see us moving. Look at that. Just a little bit of throttle. I'm not kidding, folks. Very little throttle. This thing will move. But yeah, how about that? An aircraft where you can do your own pushback. No longer are we bound by the tyranny of the pushback tug. Yeah, I know, I'm silly. All right, there's our runway right there. So runway 14 is right at this end here. So we're going to be pointing in the opposite direction. Man, I can barely see the mountains on the other side. That's just nuts. That's just nuts. Wow. Yeah, we definitely need to get over this weather. All right, right about here should be good. I should be able to make this turn. So we're going to pull the throttle back, which will, of course, stop us. I've got it at the idle stop, which since we are in fly idle or flight idle, that's about 72%. Just below where we need to be. All right, and I'm going to put the nacelles forward to about 87. So there we go. They're just slightly pointed forward. We're going to go to the outside view as we taxi to the hold short, and hopefully Carol will remember to tell them that we're about to take off.
Papa Alpha Kilo Foxtrot, traffic Navy 70, taking off runway 14 departure to the south.
Okay, so you know what it's time for, folks. Brakes down, throttles up. This is going to get interesting. So I'm going to set my nacelles to 70 degrees. You don't want to go any lower than about 60 when you're on the ground. Otherwise, you may run into the possibility of striking the blades. But 70 is pretty safe. You can see the blade tip is pretty far away from the ground, so we're cool. And we're going to hold the brakes. Start pulling that power up. 80%. Okay, we're looking good. We're a little light on the skids. I'm going to pull her down to 60 now. Get some more forward airspeed going. The flaps are automatic in this thing, so you don't have to mess with them. You can manually change it if you want. It's not 100% necessary. And here we go. Giving her more power. 81% throttle, 83, 85, and there we go. 89's the magic number. Very nice. Very nice. Alright, so we've got a positive rate, so we'll go gear up. We're going to keep the nacelles at 60 for the time being until we get past like about 150 knots. I'm increasing our power.
Anchorage Center Navy 70 is type 1 miles southeast of Papa Alpha Kilo Foxtrot, 600 feet. Request flight following.
And we'll start bringing those
Navy
nacelles
70
down.
Anchorage Center. Squawk 0774.
So we're at 40
Squawk
degrees.
0774, Navy 70.
Navy 70 radar contact 2 miles southeast of Papa Alpha Kilo Foxtrot, 1,900 feet. Altimeter 30.30.
Roger, Navy 70.
Alright, we're going to keep bringing her down, so I want my nacelles down to about 20 for now. We're at 19 technically, but as long as we're still climbing. We are totally IFR right now. Look at this. Holy crap, that's nuts. That's nuts. Alright, so we're going to want the autopilot on. And I'm going to set our nav hold up. Okay, nav hold is on. I'm assuming we should start tracking to where we need to. I may also set up our vertical speed. Vertical speed is on the right. That's that arc there. So you can see we're at about 700 feet per minute, roughly. We are climbing, but it is a bit dramatic, as always. My main thing was to get around those mountains. You see the yellows and the browns on the MFD? Yeah, we don't want anything to do with that, like, at all. Alright, let's get our VS on, and I'm going to set our vertical speed for about 1,200 feet per minute. We'll see what it does. Are you actually doing anything? What are you doing there? She's busy turning. Okay, well, you continue turning. I'm going to have our nacelles to 0, and that'll give us our full forward speed capability. And I think it also kind of sort of changes the coding in the flight model. So you'll notice things get dramatic now that we're full forward. Look at that turn rate. All of a sudden, the turn rate is so much better. So much better. We're also climbing an awful lot, so I'm going to bump us back on the vertical speed. So 700 feet per minute. I'm not even sure if it's doing that. We're just climbing like a rocket ship at this point. Alright, there we go, there we go. Let's bring that down a bit. Okay. Hopefully, we'll be able to get out of these clouds at some point in time soon. I'm not very optimistic about it, but we'll see. Hey! As if right on cue. Another disclaimer, I have my cloud set to medium because when you set them to ultra, they do tend to have an effect on your FPS. There's those big mountains that we were trying to avoid there, so that's cool that we're already higher than them. We're over 10,000 feet already. I'm going to set my tip lights to top so that way you can see them now. And if we look over here, look at that. That is a beautiful thing. No icing yet, but we'll keep an eye on the nacelles and the leading edge of the wing just to make sure that everything is behaving. But yeah, this is awesomeness. This is just awesomeness. I'm loving this. And look at how moody the weather is. This is why I wanted to do this flight, because the weather here is pretty much always like this. It's just horrible, no matter how you cut it. Alright, we should be altitude hold 14,000. However, she still wants to climb, so I'm going to see if I can force her down a bit. Basically, I'm just pushing forward on the stick until she starts to behave herself. I've noticed this autopilot is a little bit squirrely. It is definitely a little bit squirrely. So that's an area of opportunity that Maryadi has. But overall, it does seem like it is doing what it is supposed to do. I'm going to give the VS a little nudge here. Descend at 400 feet per minute. Nope, still climbing. Still climbing. I need you to come down, baby. I need you to come down. There's a good Osprey. You come on down. And looks like we're heading for the magenta line, which is also great. Just want to get us closer to 14,000 feet because that's our cruise. I don't mind if we're a little higher than that because, yeah, with this terrain around us, that could potentially be an issue. But I also don't want to fly into the sun, if you know what I mean. I'm thinking my flight director should be on, but I'm not 100% certain that it is. Yeah, see, we got a little bit of climby action there. Altitude hold should be on. We're still climbing though. We are still climbing. She just wants to climb all day. She just wants to fly. And while in some respects I'm okay with that, I kind of want my autopilot to work how I set it. You know what I'm saying? So now we're at 17,000. Let's see if it actually tracks at 17,000. It is not tracking at 17,000. Why? Yeah, no, it's not doing any of that. It wants none of it. Alright, let's go this. And start lowering ourselves again. Okay, now it's starting to come down. Problem is, we're at 18.5 right now. Okay, we're on GPS, so we should be good to go. Nav is on, but as you can see, we are just to the right of where we should be. I think my nav hold might not be on. Now it is. There we go. Okay. I think we got it this time, folks. I think we got it. Alright, and while she is doing her thing, let's go to the outside view and do that little cinematic thing that I like to do, and hopefully the motion smoothing won't mess it up. Okay, so not too shabby. Had to reset our view there for a second because it wasn't quite where I wanted it. I'm also going to check our heading bug. Even though I'm not on heading hold, I do want to kind of line that up with the flight path marker. So what is that, 243? Yeah, just about. Even though technically, if you look, it does say that we are at a heading of 236, which means we are crabbing. We are most definitely crabbing. If I set it to 236, you'll see just how much of a variance there actually is. That's pretty dynamic right there. That's a lot of crab. But then look at the winds aloft. From 235 heading 57 knots. No wonder this thing feels like a rowboat bobbing from side to side. That's just wild. And it's set to live weather. You know me, I like flying with live weather because it's unpredictable and I can never tell what any given video is going to end up like because of this fact. But yeah, this is just crazy. This is just crazy. We're just going side to side. Wow. Okay, but the other cool thing that I wanted to show you, in particular with the PFD. So this is our standard PFD right here. We can set FLIR, forward-looking infrared, which, mind you, is not a real thing with Microsoft Flight Simulator. However, we can basically put the synthetic vision on it, and now we've got all of our PFD elements plus the synthetic vision, and we can see where we're going, which is really useful on a day like today, where if we get down to the deck, it might just be nothing but clouds and some cumulogranitus hiding off in the distance, much like that one right over there, which I'm glad we're not pointing in that direction. Well, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Let me check our temperature. Oh, -5. Not sure I like that. All right, so here's how we're going to deal with temperature issues here. We're going to go to Stat. We're going to set it for ice. And all modes are currently off. Okay, well, it might be helpful to have anti-icing on. So I'm going to set that to auto. I don't want to override anything just yet. I want to keep it all there. So that should do the trick. And we should start noticing our red temperatures there going up slowly but surely. But that does bring to mind a very good point, since obviously it was an issue with the PAC 750. I may want to check to see if we have any icing out there. So far I don't see any icing.
8070 contact Anchorage Center on 121.4. Good day.
I can't tell if that's chipped paint.
121.4 for 8070.
I think it might be chipped paint. And by the way, the textures are great.
17,000 feet.
Look at that mountain there. Yeah, the textures on this bird are really great. It feels lived in. And that is extremely important whenever I'm flying an aircraft. It has to feel like a real aircraft, quote unquote. And obviously, you know, some developers are better at that than others. But the stuff like this, you see the weathering on that pipe there? That's the kind of stuff that I love to see. I don't like it when an aircraft is just pristine, which a lot of the default aircraft, or even some of the Carenado aircraft, some of the newer models, are meant to look like they're straight off the showroom shelf, basically. I want to know that an aircraft looks like people have been using it, and this most certainly fits the bill. I'm in love with this. You'll also notice we've got a jump seat here. Now, even though officially we still don't have shared cockpit, if you've got the mod out there, which I forget the name of, I'll have it pop up right now, you can do shared cockpit with this, and potentially you could have your jump seater ride with you. Now, the cabin itself is not fully fleshed out, so that door that the jump seat is on does not open at all. But you could, in theory, have your quote-unquote loadmaster riding in the jump seat there. I don't believe the seat itself comes down, but, you know, those are the breaks. Can't have everything, right? Alright, so we're just now leaving this island, and I think the next island that we need to pass is Aleutian. Look at that. Just take a look at this for a second. And again, I'm hoping that the motion smoothing is doing what I want it to do and not just completely messing up and distorting the picture. But if you can see what I'm seeing right now in VR, and by the way, Reverb G2, wonderful clarity. While I will never make it to a Vario Aero, because Vario Aero does not support AMD, right now, this is exactly what I needed for my AMD Radeon 7, was this Reverb G2. See a little rainbow there. That's why I'm focusing my gaze over there till it disappears. So awesome. I can't thank Maryadi enough for bringing this aircraft to Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've been waiting for this one because this is one of my absolute favorite aircraft for all the sims that I've had it in. So that includes FSX, P3D, and even though the one for X-Plane 11 was made by AOA Simulations, I absolutely love that one as well. I have heard that AOA Simulations is working on revamping the Osprey, since they had that falling out with one of the guys that actually did a good share of the work. The older version is still available under the guy that technically owns it, so you can still purchase it for X-Plane 11. I don't know if it works for X-Plane 12 or if the guy's planning on updating it. I think that's probably where he needed AOA Sims, but you know, it is what it is. I know AOA Sims is still working on the newer version of the Osprey, so that may come out at some point in time eventually. Couldn't tell you when. So we'll just go with the DCS default of 2 more weeks. Those who get it, get it. But look at these clouds. Aside from the fact that I've got everything set to medium on the clouds, I'm quite liking this. This is moody weather. This is just awesome. And given our latitude on planet Earth, even though it's like just past midday, it almost looks like sunset already. Which is wild when you think about it. We're still going side by side here. Not so sure how I feel about that, but again, the winds are heading 230 at what? 69 or 58 knots? 59 knots. That's just insane. Now, trying to bring this bird down is going to get interesting as well, because we probably don't want to go any lower than about 3,000 feet. I'm suspecting, since that whole island is just one giant wind tunnel, we're probably going to want to land runway 13. But we won't know for sure until we get low enough for that winds aloft reading in the upper left corner of the MFD to change. Then it'll tell us for sure which way the wind's blowing. And I'm hoping that the autopilot will actually allow us to descend properly. How are we doing on temperature? Oh, look at that. We're up to -3. We went from -5 to -3. That, folks, is progress. At least we're not going to freeze over solid and fall out of the sky. That would be bad. That would be really bad. Alright, so we're still at Angel 17 or 17,000 feet. I'm going to hit my barometer real quick, which now says we are at a lot lower than I thought we were. Seriously, we're at 16,000 feet now? Okay. No, we are at 17,000. It's just the way the digits look. So we're just below 17,000 feet, so it still shows the 1.6 instead of the 1.7. Alright. That could possibly be improved a little, because it looks a little confusing. It looks like it's telling me we're at 16,000 feet. Either way, we've got about 13 minutes till top of descent. When we get to about 5 minutes to top of descent, I'm going to actually start bringing us down. But you can see at the very top, we've got the Aleutian area. So we're going to need to pass all of that to get to where we're going. And since we got some more clouds outside, let's do that cinematic thing one more time. That'll give me a break from talking and I can drink some water while I'm moving you around a bird. But look at that. This is why I love flying. It's the clouds. Okay, let's see how we're doing. We are 9 minutes away from our top of descent. So basically, as soon as we reach the back end of this island here, which I believe is Aleutian Island, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna go with that. If anything, I'll have it pop up below. But yeah, we're gonna want to think about bringing her down to about 3,000 feet. But as you can see, yeah, that's an awful lot of weather. This is gonna be nasty. This is gonna be nasty. I can only hope that closer to the surface it actually clears up a bit, but I'm gonna be honest with you folks, I'm not looking forward to doing this descent. I'm thinking we should probably start it now with 8 minutes before top of descent. So let's set 3,000 on the altimeter, or the alt select, I guess you could call it. So I want 3,000. There we go. And we're going to see if the vertical speed will behave itself now. So we're going to go VS active, and we're going to start coming down like an airliner. 1,200 feet per minute. I haven't done the math, so I don't know if that's accurate, but yeah, we do want to come down now. We definitely want to start coming down. I'm trying to keep our speed just below about 250, because when it comes time for us to start moving the nacelles, we are definitely going to want to be below 200 for that. So right now you can see we're at 250, so I can pull the throttle back. Notice big, huge, massive throttle right there. So we're at 87, 86, 85, 84. We're going to drop it down to about 80% throttle. And that should drop us below 250. Okay, you can see we're starting to drop now. So 83% should hold us, given our rate of descent. We're going to be somewhere between 82 and 83. Now, just so you are aware, when it comes to this approach, we're going to try and see if we can do it mostly VTOL. I'm not going to do a straight up VTOL landing, given the fact that the winds are hellacious right now. But we're going to at least try to get the nozzles at an angle, possibly 70 or 80 degrees angle. And we're going to try to come down based on that. We'll see if that works. Now, I don't know if it is common practice for you to turn the APU on when you're landing. I know some aircraft you do, some aircraft you don't, but I want to say with this aircraft you don't need to, so I'm going to leave it off. But if something should happen to our engines, then basically we're screwed. I'm going to pull this into about 20 miles out. And you can see we're not quite on the magenta line. We're close to it, but we're not exactly where we need to be. And we're already at 14,000 feet, so we still need to drop a bit more. I'm going to increase our rate of descent. So we're really going into airliner territory here. So about 1,800, 1,900 feet per minute. That's going to start increasing our airspeed, so we'll pull the throttle back some more. We're at 81%. And we'll keep bringing her down. Keep bringing her down. We're still over land, so yeah, we're getting some bumpies because of that. But let's not forget we're in the middle of a cloud with ridiculous winds running at 55 knots. Can't believe that. It's pretty much a headwind at this point. It's pretty much a 55 knot headwind that we're dealing with here. Insane. But I'm glad you're here to experience it with me. I just hope the video itself is coming out okay, because I've invested a lot of time over the last few days trying to tweak this Reverb G2 to where I can actually record it. I would love if somebody from HP or even a Sobo or Microsoft Flight Simulator can do something to incorporate image stabilization. Now, in case you're wondering what image stabilization is, I think I explained it in the last video, but it's what prevents your viewers from having motion sickness when they watch a VR video. It's got nothing to do with motion reprojection or any of that kind of stuff. It's just simply how the image is stabilized, how it looks while you're watching it on YouTube. GoPro has it built into their hardware, so you can make GoPro videos that are image stabilized. And Oculus Mirror is my preferred way of doing it, but since I've obviously graduated from the Rift S to the Reverb G2, that is no longer an option. That is no longer an option. So yes, I don't know if a Sobo or Microsoft Flight Simulator need to implement it, because they still need to implement my one eye VR view, which is what you're seeing right now, but just realize that how you're seeing that is because I've got one eye running through OBS as my VR mirror, as it were, and I'm recording that with AMD Relive. So it's not a true flight sim one eye view. On the other monitor, you can still see both eyes for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Plus that god-awful mask, the FOV stencil. Yeah, that needs to go. That needs to go as well. But yeah, there's definite room for improvement on all fronts, including VR. But I'm loving the way the technology is right now. And I got to keep giving a shout out to guys like VR Flight Sim guy, Steve, and the VR pilot, Jose, for the wonderful work that they've been doing trying to keep everybody in the loop with everything that goes on in the VR community. Honestly, folks, I'm getting too old for this stuff. I just want to enjoy my flights and make my flying stories for you all and just show you really cool stuff. That's all I want to do. I don't have the time or the wherewithal or the energy to keep up with everything that's going on in the VR world or all of that. So I leave that to my betters in that department. The two gentlemen that I just mentioned, If you haven't subscribed to their channels yet, I highly recommend that you do so. And you can also find us on Facebook as well as on Discord. Both the channels that I've mentioned, VR Flight Sim Guy and the VR Pilot, both have Discord groups, and all three of us run the Microsoft Flight Simulator VR group, which is also linked in the video description below. Okay, how close are we to our destination? Ah, there it is. I can see it is right at the top there. What's our altitude? 6,500. Okay, so we're doing good. Kara, this is where I need you to work, babe. Alright, nearby airport list. We want Unalaska, PADU. Select runway for landing. We want runway 13. Tell them where we are and what we're doing.
Alpha Delta Uniform Traffic Navy, 709er miles, northeast 5,900
Check my barometer.
feet, inbound to land runway 13.
Okay, that should do it. That should do it. Alright, so we've got a little bit of a bay here. I'm assuming this is Dutch Harbor. The infamous Dutch Harbor. So we're going to bump that down to about, yeah, I think 5 should be fine. This is an Orbx scenery that we're flying into, but just to forewarn you, sometimes I do get a little bit of stutters. Since this is a chill video, you can expect very little editing as far as getting rid of the stutters. So if it happens, it happens. Look at the rain there. I just want to get us down to 3,000 feet. Hopefully we've got no mountains in the way. I really hope so. According to my relief map here, 2,000 feet should be the lightest green that you're seeing there. Oh, wait, I see something. Yep, there it is. Okay, we judged that accordingly. We're at 3,700 right now, and yep. Okay, as soon as we get over the water, it's going to be time to take off the autopilot and start messing with the nacelles. There it is. You can see emerging from the mist, from the rain, the snow, whatever you want to call it, that's hitting us right now. That's Dutch Harbor right there. Okay, now we say goodbye to the autopilot. And we're going to start getting the nacelles up. So you'll notice a little green bar. Incidentally, if you're curious, those little red bars on the end, you don't want to go past that. So depending on what your airspeed is going to determine how quickly you could move the nacelles. So we're at 30 degrees right now, and we're slowing down nicely. There's our airport right there in center screen. There is Dutch Harbor off to the left. Flap to Cockpit. Look at all those ships down there. That is so awesome. Obviously, this would look better in the summertime. We are in the middle of winter, but I'm okay. I'm okay with that. It still looks awesome. Still looks awesome. And remember, this was the place where they filmed that TV series, Deadliest Catch. Alright, so we're at 40 right now. Our airspeed is just over 100, so let's go ahead and get the gear down. We'll go to the outside view, and we're going to loop around to the right so that we can come in on runway 13, which is on the opposite end there. And we'll keep bringing her down. We're at 2,200 right now. Now, once we start getting into this flight regime, we're really going to need to watch our vertical speed as we start moving the nacelles more vertically. And I'm actually going to put our nacelles at 70. That's going to give us a really tiny window between adding way too much power to stay aloft and way too little power to stay aloft. In the turn, we want to be as shallow as we can, and we want to use more rudder than anything else to come in. I'm also deliberately looking outside so that you can get a really good look at this Orbx scenery, because I had to come back here and I had to show this off to you. It is amazing. They pretty much did the entire island, or at least where all the civilization is. That's just awesome. Alright, we're going to experience some stutters here. So again, apologies if the resulting video is a little bad at this point. There's something when I'm facing this direction. I noticed in my test flight it does the same thing. Hopefully we'll be able to bypass that in a moment here, but I'm going to slow us down some more because I think it's also related to how fast I'm going. So we are at 80, and I'm just going to look to the right here. I wish I had a helmet mounted display. Obviously I don't, but if I had a helmet mounted display, that would at least give me a better indication as to whether or not I'm going to fall out of the sky. Yeah, we're definitely getting a lot of stutters right now, and I'm going to tip our nose back so that'll lower our forward airspeed. We'll keep the power up so we're not falling out of the sky. So far I haven't had any sync rates. Spoke too soon. Spoke too soon. So our forward speed is just about 40 knots. Any slower than that, and we do run the real risk of getting into like a vortex ring state, which in this aircraft is even more deadly than a helicopter. That is one deadliest catch you do not want to catch, let me just say. Alright, I'm using the rudders to turn us around, trying not to roll, bank, or anything like that. Bring us down some more. We're at about 500 feet. We're coming down nice and easy, about 47 knots. But as long as I keep facing in this direction, we shouldn't have any stuttery issues. Pulling the nose back a bit, trying to retard our speed. That's RITARD, which means to slow down. It's the same thing that the Airbus says. No, it's not what you're thinking.
Sync rate.
Alright, now is where we start jockeying with the throttles to try and get just the right amount of power. A little bit of rudder action here. I don't care that I'm too high up because this thing can land vertically. But I do kind of want to get us a little bit lower. Quick check on winds. 121 degrees, 23 knot winds. So yeah, that was a good call coming into runway 13. And we'll just bring her down some more. Very easy on the throttle. I can't stress that enough. There is a very small window between too little power and too much. And let's slowly but surely bring her in. Whew, see, that's what I'm talking about, folks. Alright, so now that we're down, we're going to put our nacelles back to 87 degrees, because as we discovered when we were taxiing from False Pass, that is the sweet spot, just to get a nice taxi speed. So that way you really don't have to give it too much throttle. You can see it says 80% as far as our forward momentum goes. But yeah, that'll get us taxiing nice and easy. And let's go to the outside view as we bring her in. Alright, so now I can take my hands off the controls. Look at that windsock. Holy crap. If that doesn't explain right there what we've had to deal with coming in, I don't know what does. But, welcome to Dutch Harbor, folks. Welcome to Unalaska Airport. Papa Alpha Delta uniform. absolutely gorgeous scenery from Orbx, and now you see why I had to come back here, why it was imperative for me to finish this quest that we had to bring these cargo, or this cargo, to Dutch Harbor. So unfortunately the PAC 750, well, it's going to get relegated to tropical island hopping. So whenever we're doing any kind of cargo runs down there, we'll use the PAC 750. But for everything else, I don't know about you all, but I'm thinking this is my cargo runner of choice right here, is the Osprey. Now, if only we could get a developer out there to make for us the AW609. Ah, now that would be the real thing right there. That is what I really want to see, because if you go back in this channel several years, you're going to see some FSX videos that I did with the AW609. It is an awesome bird. It's like this. It's a tilt rotor, except it's more civilian. In fact, it's the executive version that we ended up using in the videos that I made. But yeah, we're going to pull up here to Dutch Harbor. We're going to call this episode done. And right about here should be good. I'm not going to bother with turning everything off and so on, because that's going to take me a little while. So we'll just set the parking brakes, put the throttles all the way back. We're going to go to the outside view in a second. But before we do, I would like to thank you for watching. This has been BelGeode. I've been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, Sim Update 11. The aircraft that we've been using has been Miltech's MV-22B Osprey, which is actually designed by Maryadi. Huge kudos to Maryadi on bringing this bird to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is the one I've been waiting for, and I'm going to be flying it a heck of a lot more. Thank you so much. The scenery that we've been showing off here is Orbx's Unalaska PADU. Links to everything is in the video description below. And if you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you're curious as to the method that I've been using to record this, even though I did say it in the beginning of the video, I will answer any questions that you have in the comments. Just bear in mind, I'm running an AMD Radeon 7. I don't know if that has been the difference as to why, for me, SteamVR instead of OpenXR has been working the way it has. But hopefully you've seen the proof in this video that it does work. Alright, that'll do it for me. Thanks again, and I will talk to you all really soon. Ciao!